I was being molested in my own home by my dad because I had no communication with anybody. I was never taught to go to anybody for anything. So it became my secret, but it wasn't really a secret because I don't know if you know that when something traumatic happens to a child, they go through a blackout. They actually, somehow or another, you put it on the shelf and you just go to struggle through the day, you know. But you don't realize that while it's up on the shelf, it's eating away at your physical being. It's in your muscles. Even though it's not up here right now, but you know there's something not right. Like if somebody was to drink beer. My dad drank a lot of beer. And whenever I see anybody drink beer, it's automatically taboo, you know. Or chewing the inside of their mouth. Mm-hmm. If I see somebody doing that, I get like,
is that the bad anchor that you have from
yeah.
Okay.
You know, you just regret it, you know. And so I went through that in my household. And then when I finally graduated from high school with a 1-point average.
Got me beat.
By what, a quarter of a point?
Somewhere around there, yeah. I don't even know how we got out. Yeah.
I don't know how we got to be who we are.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really believe that what you went through and what I went through was God's way of just shaking us to wake us up to say thank you for this life. Mm-hmm. It's such a blessing to have it. And I don't want people to go through a huge challenge to start appreciating the gift that's within them. This thing right here is a gift. It's called life. You got to appreciate this. It's not for you to compare with somebody else. It's not for you to criticize. It's for you to start loving this now, respecting it, honoring it. And so when I went through that with my dad, and I finally got a job, and one day it was my day off work, and I ended up going to the beach to get me some color, because I'm so white I could do a commercial for Clorox. And so I went into the beach and laying on the beach, sunbathing, the lifeguard jeep ran me over. Ran over my face, stomach, chest, side, and back. Laid me up for 5 years.
But he didn't run over you just once.
No, because when it ran over me, somebody over here was trying to tell the lifeguard what she did. Of course, it was a woman driver. And she came back to find out what the guy was saying, so she got me...
Again,
yeah.
And first of all, let's back up a little bit. You dealt with being abused inside the home.
Yes.
What would they call that? What was happening to you?
Molested.
Thank you. I can't even think that way, but I get that. You move on from that. How before you can even go lay on a beach to get some sun, you're dealing with this here. How did you deal with that? And I'm going to get to your Jeep accident in just a moment, but people are probably backing up going, wait a minute, you just said you were molested by your own dad. How did you deal with that? How do
I deal with it now?
No, not now.
Back then, my dad...
you put it on the shelf is what you were saying.
Well, everything's on the shelf.
Okay, so you were in denial.
When Mom came home from work, I couldn't go to my mom, mainly because I don't remember, because it's on the shelf. Okay. You just block it out. So
you just went on with life?
I kept going on with life.
So nobody knew yet?
All I knew is that, in fact, when I was doing my first book, I was looking through I went and got all my school reports, and it said when I was 14, it said, Kathy's really pleasant to be around with, but when her dad comes to pick her up, she's quiet, she doesn't move, she's fearful, and it's all written on paper. Now, the sad thing that gets me, if that's written on paper, why didn't anybody ever think of what was going on to put a stop to it? So while I was going through life, I just avoid him a lot. In fact, one time we had family over and he went to pick me up to throw me in the pool. We had a barbecue. I literally beat him up. I didn't do it consciously.
You were defending you. You got scared.
It was just something, don't touch me in public, kind of thing. And so, and nobody caught on. And then when the memories did come back, because I had cancer, and that's when the memory came.
Okay. Wait. Cancer. Wait. Jeep, and then cancer, because we're going to go through all these. Before you get to the cancer part, because I know you got, once again, a plethora of things, I want to go in this order. So you put it on the shelf.
Okay, it's on the shelf.
Now you go to the beach. You're laying out in the sun trying to get some color, because Casper was like mocking you.
I got tire tracks. I could have done a commercial for Goodyear.
Oh my God. And yeah, when they ran over you, but people think maybe you squashed down in the sand. What? You broke bones, ribs?
My nose, because it went over my face. The unfortunate part was that when it went over me, this is the bizarre thing. If anything ever happened to you like that, right? But this time it was like time just went in slow motion. And I remember saying, I'm under a vehicle. And I saw the rear wheels and I took my arm to protect. I kept thinking if I protect my head this time. The unfortunate part was when the Jeep came back, it took my elbow and my upper body was facing pretty much south and my lower body was facing north.
Because you didn't know they were going to back up again.
No, I had no idea.
She didn't even realize she ran over something.
Yeah, no.
Or someone.
Something.
You were a thing then.
And then I always tell people I used to be a 44D, but that was a lie.
That was before the tires went up. You got two flats.
Not too bad.
So now, did it break your legs? You're in the hospital?
No, it was all internal bleeding. All internal organs got smashed, ribs were broken, lower back was damaged, neurological damage, all that kind of stuff. So it was...
How long did it take you to recover?
Well, it was 5 years I was laid up. But I was intensive care for only 13 days. And then I was in a regular hospital room.
Okay. So, and then you recover, but only to find out you now have cancer.
Yeah.
What kind of cancer?
Cervical, female. Yeah.
Hey, I can get cervical too these days.
You can. You can
Yeah,
get
it's a
anything
new world.
you damn well please.
But what stage? How did you find out?
Well, I went in, what did I go in for? I was going in for some pain, and so I had my checkup, and they did a pap smear, and they found out that it was irregular. Then they had to go in, and the sad part is, I'm deaf. I don't know what's going on. You know, you're sitting there with the doctor's head between your sheet. And then
Good for you. You got a doctor. You landed a doctor now.
And the nurse would stand over here and interpret everything. And so it was really weird because he would have to push the sheet down so I could see his face. So now you got his head going, now...
I'm sorry, I just got the image of you holding like that. I'm sorry. We can laugh about it now, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. But back then it was good for me so I could at least see his lips while he's looking at my lips.
No comment. She said it. I didn't. He was reading your lips while you were reading his. I know you know me.
So he was he didn't use the word cancer. He used a different word, but it meant cancer. And at the time, I didn't even know what cancer was. So they took this long thing with these claws, and they would go in and they take skin out 14 times. And I was crying and crying because it was all for the biopsy. The problem with this cancer thing is you can't see it. You can't feel it. It's not like a cut and you go, oh, I put a Band-Aid on it. Let me see. Oh, it's healing.
You're talking about you personally.
Yeah, me
You didn't
personally.
even know it. You
No.
Yeah.
So
no pain, no
you have
nothing.
you have to believe what people tell you, right?
Yeah.
So, and I've always been alone. I've never had family support, so I'm not understanding what's going on. So anyway, when he did that, so now you're bleeding for a few weeks. Now you gotta wait 6 months for the results and stuff like that. And then to find out they got it all through the biopsies, whatever have you, and the treatment that they did. And then 6 months later, they find out they didn't get it all, and you got to go through the procedure. So it goes on for a couple of years. And I had no idea what I was dealing with, because nobody really just sat down and looked at me so I could lip read them and said, well, this is what cancer can do. This is, you know. So in my mind, my first thought, I'm dying.
Of course.
My second thought is, look, I went through the deafness, I went through molestation, I got run over by a Jeep, and now you say I'm gonna die? And that's when I got mad. I've never expressed anger. And I said, that's it. I'm tired of the poking, the probing. I'm tired of people telling me who I have to be, who I can't be, what I can do, what I can't do. And I just changed my diet, I changed my attitude, and I got on a plane and I confronted my father because all the memories came back.
I was going to get to that. Your dad, the Jeep, the cancer, and...
What more do you want?
I know. I don't, nothing else. I hope never think anything. But now you're going to confront your dad.
Yeah.
And I was going to get to that because you did something unthinkable that most people wouldn't even dare to do.
Confront him.
You confronted him. But when you confronted him, what else did you do?
Well, when I confronted him the first time, see, this is not like you walk in and say, okay, look, this happened. Are you sorry? You know, it's not a conversation. No. This is something that's been brewing in me that I didn't even know that was brewing in me, okay? So the first time I confronted him, he denied it. And I thought, am I crazy? Because I'm not comfortable with men, you know, I don't want to date. No, don't touch me, you know, why? Why do I feel like that when everybody else is like, let's go get laid? And I'm just like, no, don't touch me! You know, it was just a whole big... I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So when I confronted my dad and he said, no, I didn't. No, I don't. Every Saturday morning when Mom went to work, no, I don't remember anything like that. And I went upstairs and there was a couch and it was his house. You know when you cry, you do that. You know how you do that?
You gasp for air, yeah, the dramatic.
But I didn't do that. Water poured out of my head with no physical element to the tears. I've never even knew that was humanly possible. And then my dad came up and he got down on his knees next to the couch. My dad was very young looking. I literally watched his face age in front of me as he looked up at me and said, my God, what have I done to you? Don't hate all men, just hate me. And I'm like, okay. But I'm not one to hate. That's not my nature. Do you know what I did? It's okay. I didn't take care of Kathy. I took care of him. It's okay. I don't think our conversation lasted.
Did you mean that it's okay? Or I mean, were you still the victim at that time, or were you?
I was still the victim.
You were still the victim.
I was victimizing myself.
Okay.
At that time, he admitted it. And I don't know if maybe at that time that's all I wanted to know, that it happened. But I left and went back to California.
No closure.
I didn't know that I was supposed to have a closure. I didn't know how this works. Went on with my life. My stepsister calls me up and says, Mom and Dad are getting divorced. I'm like, okay, I don't care. And she goes, I'm going to go stay with Dad for a few days. No, don't. She goes, why did you say that? And then she shared some of her stories. I go, that's it. I'm flying back home. We're going to confront him together. Like I said, everything kept going up on the shelf. Now I took it back down. I'm taking it with me. Gina didn't want anything to do with it. So I confronted Dad. So I opened it up again. Goes, what do you want from me? What do you want? I don't know. Maybe if you learn to be happy, I can be happy. And that's what I wanted, was to be happy. I thought somebody had to set the example of what happiness was. And he goes, well, what do you want? And I kept saying the same thing over and over. And when I left, do you ever get somewhere and it feels like somebody smacks you upside the head? And it's like he asks you, what do you want? I want to be happy. I want to know what happiness is. And it was like, well, Kathy, the truth of the matter is, what he did to you was years ago. What you're doing is holding on to this story, and it's causing you grief. Because what he did took place then, not now. So I went on with my life, started doing comedy, phone rings, watching myself on TV. You know how weird it is to lip read yourself? I said, girl, you got to do some more movement with those lips. The phone rings. Hello. It's Dad. Oh, hi, Dad. How you doing? I'm in an institution. I tried to commit suicide. The doctor says I have to call people and ask for forgiveness. I didn't know what forgiveness was. But because he asked for it, it's like that alien that lived in my pit of my gut, who had grown his own arms and legs over the years, started climbing up and out of me and just yelled out, "No!" And I scared myself. And I realized in that fear, there's more to this than keep putting it up on the shelf. I said, look at Dad, I gotta be in Chicago. When I'm done in Chicago, I'll come to Cleveland. But when I get there, you don't hug me, look at me, touch me, nothing. And that was the first time I took care of Kathy. I had a voice for her. But there was no way I can go back to Cleveland. I needed help. I'm not doing this every few years. I want to live a life. So I went to a group therapy, 13 women in a half circle. They started telling their stories, and I have to tell you, their stories were horrendous. Came my turn, and they said, you have to tell your story in detail. And that was the first time I told my story in detail. It was like I was taking this little alien and just spewing them out piece by piece, you know?
Now, is that a sense of being free?
It felt fabulous.
That's the alien coming out, being free.
The ugliness that had been living inside of me. It's like all of a sudden everything came down off the shelf, and it felt fabulous. It was a safe place for me to be true to who I am. So I went ahead, and I was excited because 2 days later there's another meeting. This was my naive mind. I thought, I'd tell you my details, you're going to tell me how to handle the situation in Ohio. When I got there, all 13 women are telling their stories again. I'm uncomfortable. You know, when you tell your story one too many times, you start elaborating. And I'm sure these women were doing that. And it came my turn. And I said, what are we doing? Because I'm looking for a solution. She goes, well, we're telling your story until you get it all out. I go, I did 2 days ago. Who's deaf here? You or me? So when I had that coffee and tea, and I'm sitting and I'm going, how long you been coming here? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Mm-hmm. You've been coming here twice a week telling your story for 5 years? As far as I'm concerned, you are molesting, raping, and abusing yourself. You are so stuck in a story that you don't even know what's presented to you right here and now, yet alone plan for a future. That was my wake-up call. I got on the plane, I canceled my job in Chicago, any job I ever canceled, went directly to that doctor's office where my dad was. The doctor was sitting here, there was a table with my dad. I went right up to my dad, what the hell were you thinking? Why did you say the things you said when you were touching me? Who the hell? And the doctor's like, you can't yell at him. He's suicidal. I go, that's okay, I'll kill him and save him the trouble.
He didn't do it right the first time.
I know. So my dad looked at the doctor and he said, let her have at me. And I thought, as I looked at him when he said that, I says, I remember a gift called choice that was given to me. And I thought to myself, how many times does this story have to have life? How many times does this story have to hurt me? How many times do I have to play it over and over again? And I said, Dad, stand up. I'm going to give you a hug, and from here on out, you and I no longer have that story. I made a choice right then and there. And I hugged him. And I said, now, if you want a relationship on my terms, you may hug me back. And he did. And we had a beautiful relationship for over 30 years. Wow. A few years ago, he ended up with dementia. I flew home every week, every month to help take care of him. I slept in the same bed with him for 3 nights in a row until he took his last breath. And when he did, I looked to the heavens and I said, thank you. Not because he died, because he showed me what happiness was. Happiness is to forgive yesteryears. If you don't let the past die, it won't let you live. So I made a promise to myself. I now know that I didn't forgive my dad. I didn't know I even forgave him. I didn't know what forgiveness was. But forgiveness is to be able to love unconditionally to the point where you can let it go. You don't have to forget. It'll always be a part of your story and your upbringing. But because that night I realized there are a lot of people who have hurt me in my life. And so I took a big poster and I wrote down all the names of the people who hurt me, whether it's verbally, physically, whatever it was. And whose name's on the top? Mine. Because I'm responsible as to how I'm going to react to how somebody says or do to me. It's up to me.
Your name is first?
My name is first. I have to forgive me first. I have to
For what though? People would say you were the victim. What are you forgiving yourself about?
Because I used to think that because I was deaf, I was too stupid to, not to say no or not to understand. But he was my dad. I didn't understand what was going on. So I used to blame myself for certain things. And there's certain things I've done things to myself. Because trying to commit suicide, I have to forgive myself for that. Because how could I not love the gift that God created in me? So I wrote all those names down. I wrote down next to the names what they did or said to me. What did I write after that? How did it make me feel? And that's when I was losing it, because I had to go through all that pain again. What did I write after that? How can it stop me from moving forward in life? How is it stopping me? Like I couldn't be in a relationship because I felt like I wasn't good enough, I wasn't pretty enough, because that was my belief system from what I was taught from my dad. And teachers that have limited me, that didn't help me move forward, all those things. So what did I write after? What did I learn from it? Because everything in life is an experience. Everything, whether it's an issue, a situation, or a circumstance, it is an experience. It is a in that moment thing. You don't have to take this moment thing and take it with you for the rest of your life. If it's not going to serve your purpose, you don't need to. So what did I learn from them? And then at the last one, I put gratitude. Gratitude to having the insight, the foresee, to be able to see that everything was an experience, a story. Gratitude, my dad showed me what happiness was. In the most bizarre way.
I would say very bizarre way, yeah.
But
I get you.
When he died, I understood forgiveness. To love this man unconditionally for 30 years. Yeah, I took care of him, all of that. And people say, how could you do that after what he did to you? I said, he's still a child of God. And as long as he's God's child, I will respect him out of my Father in heaven. And to be with him in his last breath, it's just, what a gift I gave me. To give me, to be able to, he wanted to come to California. I didn't want him in my house. But I had to get him in my house because I had to get over all my fears. And it worked out. People don't look out for themselves in the right way. You can't be angry forever. And if you are, you will be.